Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now that the bleeding was stopped for the moment, he stood up and dusted the sand from his hand. This is for class 12th, lecture number 4. Our topic, the enemy, from book Vistas, page number 28. Now that the bleeding was stopped for the moment, he stood up and dusted the sand from his hands. Yes, undoubtedly that would be best. Hannah said steadily, but she continued to stare down at the motionless man. If we sheltered a white man in our house, we should be arrested, and if we turned him over as a prisoner, he would certainly die. शैडो ने कहा कि अगर हम इसको पनाह देंगे तो हमें अरेस्ट किया जाएगा अगर इसको ये अगर हम इसको शेल्टर देंगे तो ये हमें अरेस्ट किया जाएगा अगर हम अपने मकान में तो ये मर जाएगा द काइंडेस्ट थिंग वुड बी टू पुट हिम बैक इनटू द सी हैना सैड बट नाइदर ऑफ देम मूव्ड दे वर स्टेयरिंग with a curious repulsion upon the inert figure. What is he? Hannah whispered. There is something about him that looks अमेरिकन शैडो सैड इसके दिखाई देता है कि वो अमेरिकन he told up the he took up the battered cap. Yes, they're almost gone. Was the faint lettering. A sailor, he said, from an American warship. He spelled it out, U.S. Navy. The man was a prisoner of war. He was escaped, Hannah cried softly, and that is why he is wounded. In the back, Shadow agreed. They hesitated, looking at each other. Then Hannah said with resolution, Come, are we able to put him back into the sea? If I am able, are you? Shadow asked. No, Hannah said, but if you can do it alone, Shadow hesitated again. The strange thing is, he said that if the man were whole, I could turn him over to the police without difficulty. I care nothing for him. He is my enemy. All Americans are my enemy, and he is only a common fellow. You see how foolish this face is. But since he is wounded, you also cannot throw him back to the sea. And I said, then there is only one thing to do. We must carry him into the house. But the servant said inquired. We must simply tell him that we intend to give him to the police, as indeed we must. Shadow, we must think of the children and your position. It would endanger all of us if we did not give this man over as a prisoner of war. Certainly, Shadow agreed. I would not think of doing anything else. Thus agreed together, they lifted the man. He was very light, like a fowl that had been half starved for a long time until it is only feathers and skeleton. So his arms hanging, they carried him up the steps and into the side door of the house. This door opened into a passage, and down the passage they carried the man towards an empty bedroom. It had been the bedroom of Shadow's father, and since his death it had not been used. They laid the man on the deeply matted floor. Everything there here had been Japanese to please the old man, who would never in his own home sit on a chair or sleep in a foreign bed. Hannah went to the wall cupboards and slid back a door and took out a soft kilot. She hesitated. The kilot was covered with flowered silk and the lining was pure white silk. He is so dirty, she murmured in distress. Yes, he had better be washed. Shadow agreed. If you will fetch hot water, I will wash him. I cannot bear for you to touch him, she said. We shall have to tell the servants he is here. I will tell Yumi now. She can leave the children for a few minutes and she can wash him. Shadow considered a moment. Let it be so, he agreed. You tell me, and I will tell the others. But the utter pillar of the man's unconscious face moved him first to stop and feel his pulse. It was faint, but it was there. He put his hand against the man's cold breast. The heart too was yet alive. He will die unless he is operated on, Shadow said, considering the question is whether he will not die anyway. Hannah cried out in fear, don't try to save him. What if he sold alive? What if he should die? Shadow replied. He stood gazing down down on the motionless man. This man must have extraordinary vitality, or he would have been dead by now. But then he was very young, perhaps not yet 25. They decided that they should tell the servant also. They would tell them that they intend to hand him over to the police. इन्होंने ये मन बनाया कि हम इसको पुलिस के हवाले करेंगे. The man had been starved for a long time. वो बहुत अरसे से भूखा था, and he was light as a fowl. They carried him to a Shadow's father's bedroom. इन्होंने Shadow's के father के bedroom में इसको लिया, and as his father was no longer alive, क्योंकि वो मरा हुआ था. The old man had never allowed a foreign object in his room. इसके कमरे में कोई भी नहीं आया था. The American was very dirty and needed to be washed. वो गंदा था, इसको wash करना था. Hannah said that Yemi, the governess, might wash her. She wanted to fetch her. When she returned to the kitchen, she found the other two servants frightened at what Shadow had told them. The servants tried to convince Shadow that he must hand over the enemy to the police. Jimmy refused to wash the American, and Hannah had to wash him herself. So for today.